Welcome everyone. Welcome to our Learn Community Education session today. I'm Dee Childers with Life Changes Elder Care Consulting and Vice President for Learn, as well as the Community Education Chair. And today our topic is—
Are you sharing your screen, Dee?
I did, but apparently not quite.
No, we're good.
Go. Okay. Thought I had shared it. So today is not effectively using Zoom. It's effectively managing caregiving services. And Learn. What is Learn? Learn is Lifelong Education and Aging Resource Network, and we're an Idaho-based nonprofit providing community education on aging and caregiving topics. Free, I might add. And Learn is part of the Society for Senior Advisors Leaders Network. And we just have a general disclaimer before all of our presentations that our content is provided for general information purposes only and not to be considered legal, financial, or health advice. So please consult with your appropriate professionals before taking action based on this presentation. So today our sponsors are Oasis Senior Advisors, providing free personal senior living assistance with trusted local advisors, providing an excellent service to our community, as well as a mind for all seasons. And they are leading the revolution in brain health for individuals and institutions with their comprehensive approach to brain health. And we thank both of our sponsors so very much today. That's what allows us to bring you this high quality education every couple of weeks, basically, or at least twice a month. So we are very appreciative of our sponsors. And today we have our presenters, a la in absentia, Cash Edwards, no, but Shannon Skidmore. They're from The Key, formerly known as Home Care Assistance. So with that note, I'm going to ask Shannon to do her own bio, because, and we'll see if I can get that one up, and I'm going to put her presentation up. So Shannon, could you tell us about yourself other than how wonderful you are? Because I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you. Again, thanks Dee and Learn for everything that you do for our community, educating and bringing awareness to what this valley has to offer for our families and for clients or patients or residents, whatever facet it may be. That there is so much out there that we can educate on and really empower each other and serve one another. For me, it's never about competitors. It's about working together to serve our valley. So I have been in healthcare business now for 12, 15 years. Well, we'll say 15. Dates me a little bit, but 15 years, from mental health to hospice to senior living community, from regional to an licensed administrator for the state of Idaho, and now home care. During COVID, home care really stepped in and helped supported our community in a way to where we were able to ensure isolation wasn't an issue in our assisted living. So it was a really neat facet for me to be involved in, and loved it so much that I decided to venture out and start in with home care with Mr. Cash Edwards with The Key. And it has been a wild adventure and a lot of learning experience in the last year, being that now we can care for individuals, whether they want to remain at home, whether they want to be in an assisted living, wherever they call home, we can be. And there's so many amazing partners out there that we can work together to ensure the safety and well-being for a non-emergency medical care, from companionship to help with activities of daily living, etc. My passion is to ensure that our families get to be the family. So that is my servant ability, and what I love and get to do on a daily basis is to ensure that our families get to be that and spend quality of time with their loved ones. So you want me to go into that? Lovely presentation.
I'm ready to go.
Recently, Home Care Assistants did some rebranding. We are now known as the Key. We were not sold or purchased or anything along that line. The Key just really defines who we are, the key to the solutions. It really is an embodiment of allowing families to choose where they want to be. So I think you'll see more to come with the name change, and we're excited for that. And so that's where we're at. So right now we're going to go into a little bit more of a deep dive on uncovering the cost of aging. And bear with me, this Cash was going to do this presentation, so I'm kind of winging it a little bit. So bear with me on that. First, we'll go over a little bit of our overview about the aging population, some statistics, and then we'll go into understanding the aging care experiences and needs when choosing care. Again, from whether being at home, from companionship to assisted daily living of activities, or whether you're in a community and you need a little bit more one-on-one care. And understanding long-term care options, the financing and cost comparisons from home-based to community-based, and then diving into how the Key can enhance service offering, how our care team benefits you and your clients, and then also why the Key is a preferred partner, and how we use other agencies. Again, I don't use the word competitors. I use other referral partners. If we're not able to meet the needs, we like to use other referral partners, or maybe if there's a case that comes our way and we can't staff it fully, because we all know caregivers at the moment sometimes can be a difficult and a challenge. So that's when we truly want to partner with other agencies to provide that care and continuum of care for our families and our clients. And so going into the population, I found this quite interesting. As the population agency ages, the ratio of older adults to working age adults is projected to rise. For the first time in the US history, older adults are projected to outnumber children under the age of 18 by 2035. I found that pretty crazy thinking, knowing how many kids run around my house on a day-to-day basis. And then by 2060, there will be about 1.5 million more adults over 65 than children. So again, I thought the graph kind of put it a little bit more in perspective for you, but from the Census Bureau, and this just kind of gives us a little insight on what we're looking at as time goes by. And again, this is, I honestly didn't really review this one very much, but this is the population growth of just the United States. So you can kind of see a little bit of trajectory on just how things have changed in the aging process, or in the aging stages. The current aging care experience, that's where the who, what, and the care recipient really comes into play. Who's the typical family caregiver is usually female, about 49 years of age or younger, caring for a 69-year-old female or male relative. And what she has on an average been providing care for typically 4 years before they realize they're burning out. I'm seeing that a little bit less than usual now. We're getting a lot more calls after a year or 2 years. I think COVID has really changed that time frame for us. And then also, on average, family members are still caring for loved ones 24.4 hours a week with caregiving, and being the primary caregiver unpaid as a care provider. And the care recipient, the senior typically has a long-term physical condition that is typically the reason why they need that care. They are more likely to live with the caregiver or very close by to them. We're seeing more family members giving up their day-to-day to care for a loved one out of feeling of obligation, or feeling of, caregiving is there's an expense to it. So it's trying to save a little bit here and there, but they're missing out on that quality of life, and they're missing out on spending that quality time with their loved one.
It's always hard to be a caregiver and still remain a daughter or a son or
Yep.
husband or wife. So we are seeing a lot of that too, Shannon.
Yes, most definitely. The current aging care experience, the adult children, 50% of adult children live on average of 100 miles away from their parents. We're seeing more and more of that. I mean, I saw a lot of that in assisted living where they're moving mom to be closer, but not too close sometimes. Or the desire of peace of mind is now having the parent closer. And I'm seeing more and more where houses are just right down the street from each other. It's fascinating to really, I think COVID had kind of brought us all closer in some ways, but we also realized that distance played a huge factor when something was needed. And so I think we're going to see more and more family members reuniting and trying to care for one another. And that's where we can all come into play to support and educate. Adult children and senior both require resources and expertise. Again, that's where all of us come in and play and provide the education piece. So thank you again for having me. As for the seniors, there's the fear of loss of their independence as they age. We've all seen that, and also the desire, sense of security. We really strive to ensure that we are providing the quality of life and not taking away that independence. We're there to ensure safety and, again, companionship, or helping on the things that they can, that maybe they struggle with a little bit on a day-to-day, as simple as kind of housekeeping duties or doing laundry, fixing meals, things of that nature, that still things that they can enjoy. And we're there just to help support or guide.
And the other thing that I would add to that is the other thing that they fear is being a burden. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be a burden to their kids or someone else. So that comes up to the top as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Understanding practical needs when choosing care, increased fairly, maybe more of a fall risk, or as we age, things change. And then incidences of dementia increase with age if they have a dementia diagnosis, or maybe they don't have a dementia diagnosis. Sometimes it's the forgetfulness of things, you know, driving down the street and then we forget to get home, or where did we put our keys? All of those things start to change as we age. Those with chronic conditions generally need more personal assistance. With home care, it's more of a one-on-one, or even in senior living, you can still have that one-on-one care companionship. Safety of the home, and then potential lack of support systems, because we see sometimes our family members do live alone, or sometimes they don't have families. They didn't have children, or they're using neighbors for support. And so that lack of support system really comes into play. Vulnerability to fiduciary abuse. Unfortunately, we've all seen that at times. Breaks my heart every time. And that's where, you know, we all come in and we try to protect to the best of our ability. And then increase reliance on legal and financial professionals. So that's where we like to educate our families with geriatric care managers or fiduciaries, guardians, and really use the professionals in our Treasure Valley to help support family members. So we go beyond just those activities of daily living and the companionship. It's providing those resources, again, so they can be the family. Care options and resources. I mean, you can see there's lots of choices. Caregiving services. We have psychiatry services, and we refer all these out to our referral partners that are out in the community. Again, providing the family with the education and the tools that they need, from adult day care centers, again, geriatric care managers, public benefits. The list goes on and on. It really is just about educating. This I thought was quite interesting, the financing long-term care. As you can see, knowledge of insurance and payment methods the senior has impacts the most viable long-term care options. I thought down below you could see here the graphs in regards to what it entails for out-of-pocket expenses, Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care, it was quite interesting to really see that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that Medicare is 33%. Or Medicare is 25%. I'm not quite sure I understand how that happens, other than, I guess, skilled nursing for a period of time.
Yep.
Okay.
That was my understanding of it too.
Okay.
Senior care options. You have the options from home care, again, privately hired. And this first one is the employer of a family member or client. Then you have your increased liability, scheduling responsibilities. No background checks are typically not in play. And then also out of pocket versus having, if you had long-term care insurance to pay, if it's a private caregiver hired by a family member, or that is a family member or a friend of a family member. Typically long-term care insurance doesn't pay for those services because it's not a licensed agency. And then you have your assisted living communities. And again, I have a heart and passion for these communities. So this is not saying anything wrong. It's just kind of giving an idea. With your facility with employed caregivers. You have your caregivers and that assist with activities of daily living. It's not your typical one-on-one, it's your typical one of 13. And then provides socialization with other residents, which is always a good thing. And then provide a home-like community for meals, setting, restaurant style, etc. And then you have your home care agencies. Agencies assume caregiver liability, where we're insured and bonded and protect our clients in that facet of things. Agencies, we take over the scheduling of the caregiver. So if the caregiver calls out, we're looking for the replacement so no one goes left alone. And then we also make sure that we do a caregiver fit. So we ensure that this caregiver is going to fit not only with the responsibilities and duties of caring for your loved one from the activities of daily living, but also social, and ensure that they're interactive with the client. We do background checks and drug screenings on our caregivers. We also hold workman's comp. So if there is an injury, that this caregiver is also taken care of. Out of pocket or LTC insurance, which is your long-term care insurance. We have a long-term care insurance department for our agency. So they take care of all of that. So the family member, again, gets to be the family member. And we ensure that all the documentation and everything is done. So there's no struggles or any worry there. Cost comparing home base. You can see here on average home care. And again, I apologize. He didn't send me what he averaged this on based on how many hours per week or per month. So it just kind of a comparison. The difference between your home care and your home health. The big difference here is home care is in your home with the times that you allot, the times that you need us there. Home health comes in during the time of need paid by Medicare, typically, or private insurance. With home health, it's based on the need. So they're not in the home to where we can be in the home 24/7. They come 2-3 times a week, depending on what is allotted based on the need. For more physical therapy, occupational therapy, or sometimes even a bath aid.
Right, but just that's all
Yes.
home health does. And it's because it's a doctor's order that
Correct.
Medicare pays for it.
Correct. Cost comparing community-based care. Again, I apologize. I didn't get the information on how he factored it. So I apologize, but it kind of, you just on average here, I want to say he probably did this based on our minimums of 20 hours a week or so for our private home care. But again, I'm assuming, and I don't want to do that. But it's pretty cool. It's kind of neat to just see the different levels of cost on expenses here.
So one of the points to that is that home care can be much more expensive, but you're living in your own home and you
Correct.
can adjust and have as much or as little home of that care as you need. So if you don't need much care, there are fewer hours, lower cost.
Correct.
Right.
And the benefit of that is you still get to be in charge of what you need and how much you want. And it's not an a la carte. So for our agency, it's a flat rate. So if your cares go up, necessarily your cost does not go up, your hourly rate does not go up. So if you and the other benefit is it's a one-on-one. So when you have someone, whether you need them to go run errands for you or you need more of the companionship or whatever it is that you need, you get to choose. It is based on your needs. And again, this is your home care. And I don't want to go too much into that because I don't know the full details of it. But
Sure.
again, like I said, it's based on your needs, your one-on-one versus 1 to 13. And that 1 to 13 ratio, that's pretty typical, but it's not defined that way. I mean, I worked in a community with 75 residents and it was 1 to 20.
Well, and I think the other statement here is it is possible to stay in your home for less than living in an assisted living facility. Yeah. It just depends on the needs, right? So a lot of people, I think the message is you need to really evaluate your options and talk with professionals and have them come give you an estimate of what it would be to stay in your home if that's your preference.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. And that number is going to change dramatically based on how much care you need. 24/7 is going to be significantly more expensive.
Yes. In-home care covered by Medicare insurance. In-home care, Medicare does not cover non-skilled home care services. However, your traditional health insurance does not also cover home care. I have seen some long-term care insurance does based on what services you need help with. Each long-term care insurance is a little bit different. Some are very special. But again, this is where we have a long-term care insurance group that looks at the policy and really determines what is needed. And some have provision periods and some determine the rate. So it really varies. The other thing that I have seen is, we have the military veteran benefits. Again, it's determined by the VA on how many hours are allocated and what the rate is. But we do have the veterans contract, the VA contract with the VA. And then we also have had workman's comp. So if it's somebody that was injured on the job and they need in-home care, that is something that we have billed and been very successful at. So it's something that's been fairly new for our agency, but it is something that is an option out there if somebody has been injured and they're on workman's comp.
So fortunately for us, we have two of the companies in our valley that will provide services covered by the VA. Because not everybody has those agreements and contracts. So it's important to question if that's what you're looking to utilize as some VA aid and attendance benefits, is that the companies that you utilize need to have those kind of arrangements with the VA directly. And the other thing is that the long-term care insurances, as well as the VA, they're assessing the activities of daily living and to see how much help you need with those type of activities before they're going to cover benefits there. So those are key kick-in
yes, 100%.
criteria.
Yep.
So I'm going to throw in there just real quickly, the Medicare, in some states, some of the insurance companies that have Medicare are covering home care services. It has not hit Idaho yet, but they do have them in some of the states.
Really?
I did see something or read something about that some states are really they're starting to do that because of the cost of what skilled nursing has been and the benefits of being able to be home. I am excited for the opportunity for it to come to Idaho because I think it really gives choice and it gives option. I mean, we've all seen individuals that just don't do well in skilled nursing communities. Not anything to them, but it's not home. And so it's that thrive when you're at home. It's the comforts of home that really where we as home care agencies can provide. So I thank you for bringing that up, Jackie. I think that's amazing. I'm excited for that. And I hope Idaho, it doesn't take for a long time for that to get here. But I have read something along those lines.
Okay.
Definitely. Good to know. Thanks, Jackie.
How the key can enhance your service offering when someone prefers to stay in their own home, whether it's long-term. The key is the provider to partner to provide an aging in place solution. Our big thing again with that is allowing family members to be the family and providing that care while we're in the home. We're available to provide care consultations and guidance to the client, to the team at no charge. We don't charge for assessments, and I don't know of any that do. But again, there is that option there. Access to dedicated client care manager and a care team 24/7. I always tell everybody we're 24/7, 366 days a year. Whether it's after 5 p.m., if you've got my number, you know I'll answer. Whether it's on a Sunday, Saturday, wherever it is. I carry 2 phones, I'll answer both. So regular status updates on your clients. We do a continuum of care. So if it's in a community, we do a continuum care binder that goes to the community. So that way they can keep in, that way we are in an alliance with their care plan. And then at home, so families, when they do come to visit, they don't feel lost in a disconnect. There's also one there for them. And then support and guidance for the client, again, for his or her family members. The big thing here is using our referral partners if they're needing different supports in the home, whether it's durable medical equipment or maybe they need physical therapy. So it's referring out to home health agencies, or maybe they need a geriatric care manager or fiduciary, or maybe guardianship, so that we have those connections for a reason. And we love to be able to refer out to other referral partners.
We are a fairly tightly knit group in this community, aren't we?
I love it. That's again why, we don't say competitors, is because of the fact that, we're all here. I truly believe 99% of us are in it for all the right reasons, and truly serve with heart. And that's what it's all about for me.
Here you go.
How our care team benefits you and your clients, again, delivers expert knowledge of all areas impacting senior or persons with disabilities. We do extensive training based on the needs of the client. So if it's something we haven't been trained on, something new, we're really looking at different innovative ways of training our caregivers, from hands-on training. Our client care manager goes out with each new client and each new caregiver that goes to a client and do hands-on training from their care plan, whether it's Parkinson's, dementia, Lewy body, you name it. We're really looking at specializing in various areas. Promotes clients' independence, quality of life when focusing on and advocating through all levels of care, giving purpose. We have a couple clients that really love to give time, so our caregiver goes with them to volunteer. So it's really finding that meaningful purpose that allows them to still feel independent. Works with you to ensure client remains in the most appropriate quality care setting. So whether that's assisted living, memory care, home, again, it's about the safety and well-being from both physical and social. And then takes on non-medical and direct support tasks, freeing you to focus on areas of specialized expertise. Again, having those referral partners that are the experts in those fields, and educating family members and educating clients to what can benefit them.
That transcription program is kind of wild.
Yes. How our care team benefits you and your clients, part 3. Provides personal, compassionate service, focusing on the individual's wants and needs. It's not about us. When we walk through that door, it's about them. And we do some fun training things. One of them in particular is where do you keep your toilet paper? I won't go into full details, but it's just one of those things that we train on. We don't assume that it's always in the bathroom underneath the kitchen and bathroom sink. So it's really about the client and the individual. And that's why it's an individual care plan. provides an unbiased assessment of how much and the type of support needed in the home. Again, they call the shots. Provides crisis intervention, caregiver support, and education to the clients and families 24/7. I can't tell you how many times it would be late at night if a family member is, maybe they're not a 24/7 client, but the family member at midnight is overwhelmed and needs support. We're a phone call away and we get someone there. I have a pair of scrubs in my car, just in case. And I know you've seen me in them a few times, but it's what we do, what it takes to not only support our team and support our staff, but to support our clients and our family members. So again, without sounding like a broken record, so the family can be the family. Help streamline.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, nope, you're fine. Help streamline communications by serving as an advocate and communication hub for both local and distant family members. We do care conferences for family members that are out of state. We fax paperwork, we email paperwork, whatever it is that they need, to just see that, you know, it is an expense and they need to have that fruition to see that it is coming to light, that their loved one is being cared for. So a lot of times it's doing what, going that extra step so they can feel that if they're not here. And then helps the client and their family accept and adjust to help in home. You know, sometimes we're in denial on how much care someone really truly needs, and maybe we need to increase in hours, or maybe they're doing better than expected and we decrease hours. It really is about what their wants and needs are.
So, Shannon, when you have a new client, what are the kinds of things that a home care company wants to know? What how does it start? You're meeting them in the home, let's say. What happens next?
Yeah. So for me, I like to know more than just the cares. I want to know the history of the client. What makes them smile? So it really becomes more of a bio in the beginning. What did you do for a living? You know, it really helps us build that connection with the caregiver by finding out, were they in the military? Okay, do we have a caregiver that was in the military? You know, it comes about that way. And then we go into, you know, assessing the home. Is there loose rugs and there a fall risk? Okay, then we know that there's certain things that we may need to make adjustments to around the home. So we decrease those fall risks. So it's more than just the caregiving aspect of things. It's getting to know them, getting to know the safety, and really then putting in perspective the cares. Are they maybe not so safe cooking anymore, or maybe, you know, they're trying to step on a step ladder to clean the top shelves. So it varies from client to client and what their wants and needs are, but it's that initial assessment and the getting to know me piece that really builds that relationship.
And how does all of this get documented, both for the caregivers who come in the home to provide the support, as well as for the families to kind of validate, review, make sure they know that everything's been covered? How does that happen?
So I'm a paper person. So my first initial documentation is paper, even though we have the availability to bring in our laptop or our iPad. But for me, that takes away the personable piece of it. So I'm a mental, I am mental, but I mentally prepare myself with paper and pen, and always ask if it's okay to take notes. I've never had anybody, knock on wood, say no yet. But for me, it allows it to be more personable than pulling out my computer and laptop, but everybody has their own method. And then we go back and we input anything into our software. And then that goes out. The caregivers are able to go in once they're assigned to a client, they're able to go in and see this information. And the same with our family members, they're able to go in and see this real-time documentation. And then it's updated. So our client care manager, depending on the client and the amount of cares that they're needing, determines how many times we go out and visit, and how many times we go out and maybe see if the assessment needs to be adjusted. But we always have these calls and touch points. You know, right after we do a 24-hour, a 72-hour, and then a week. So making sure that we're having those first initial touch points right after a client starts to make sure we're dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and providing the support that we're there for.
If a, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
I have a question. If a family is looking for home care, what recommendation would you have for them to search for a home care provider or company, and what information should they be prepared to share with you? So how do they start, and what should they bring to the table?
You know, you have your different Google search engines, of course, but then I always see if they know someone that has used home care. Word of mouth is a huge piece or a huge part of our industry. By doing the right things. Talk to your communities, ask if they use home care agencies. And, you know, depending if they're in a rehab or skilled nursing facility, they're discharge planners, and same at the hospitals. You have your discharge planners that have home care agency lists that are available to our family members. Call. Don't just interview one. I'll tell you that. And you'll really know by the time that you're done with that first initial, either it's a phone interview or a person-to-person interview, you'll know who's in it for the right reasons. I truly believe that. And then, sorry, the second piece again was, so sorry.
Okay, what information, when a family has selected a home care company and are preparing for the first meeting, what should they have for you? Like, what information should they gather? What should they be prepared to share with you?
For me, it's about the team and about the caregiving. What is, and it's not necessarily turnover, because I mean, I'll be honest, our turnover is high because we don't tolerate a lot of things, because this is a service that's being provided, caring for someone's loved one. So there's a lot of things. We have high expectations, and we don't cut the expectations because we need a warm body. So turnover, you know, you can always ask that question, but how do you train your caregivers? What is your touch points with your caregivers? What is the culture for your caregivers? Because sometimes we can all feel like we're in a silo because we have caregivers going to this client or maybe to this client. You don't always see that face to face with your caregivers or with your team, because we all work in different parts. So for me, if it was as a family member, I want to know about your team. I want to know about them coming into my home. Do you have a bio for your caregivers? Do you have information? How do you ensure that it's going to be the right fit? So we're strangers in somebody's home, and we're asking them to trust and to be secure and to rely on us to do the right things from that initial meeting. So for me, it's that digging in point of who's coming in my home.
And is there anything that you would recommend the family be provided to share with you?
For the family members, all open and honesty. I mean, if you're not sure about the cares that someone may need, be honest about that. If you feel, I mean, tell us what you're feeling. Tell us what if there's dynamics. So often we get into the home, and then we have 30 other family members calling us saying, we want this, we want that. We need to know about the dynamics. It plays a huge role in being able to provide an exceptional service.
And just, I know it seems obvious, but just for our audience, you would want to know what their medical history is.
Absolutely.
What medications they're on, who their primary care provider is.
Yes.
Who the health
We go into
power of attorney.
Yep. We go into, it's all part of our initial assessment. We go into a lot of those details because really we have to paint the picture for our caregiver, for our client care manager, for anyone that's coming in the home. We need to be able to paint it so that way the family member and the client don't feel repetitive every time somebody comes into the home. We need to take on that responsibility and paint that picture.
And what kind of things would be considered outside of the scope of home care? Where does home care end? And
so there's some medical,
supports?
there's some medical things that really, you know, there's some items that we don't do. You know, we don't do catheter changes. We don't do, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking out on you. Wound changes, there's physical therapy. We can help someone, with some of the physical therapy exercises, but we're not physical therapists. We're not occupational therapists. We're non-nursing. So that's really where we have to define that home care piece, where we can help with the activities of daily living. We can help assist someone to the restroom. We can help assist with making meals, laundry, housekeeping items, running errands, appointments, picking up medications. There's a lot of varied things. I tell everybody we can pretty much do all non-medical things except for clean the gutters. So we don't get on the ladder and clean the gutters.
And do you coordinate with home health when that medical care is needed?
Yep. We'll reach out to our referral partners, and then we do continuum of care meetings. So that way we're all on the same page. We want to make sure that our assessment aligns with their care plan.
And you also work very nicely, both of Trinity and the Key work very nicely with care managers, which is always important from our perspective, is that when you have another organization in there, that we're all part of the same team. So communicating when there's events or there's issues or concerns. So that if there's not a care manager, that could be a family member. So reaching out to your key contact and letting them know what kinds of things you see that would be helpful or might be needed would be another key piece of that.
100%. And I have so much love and respect for Trinity and what they do. And they're another one of our great home care agencies that's in the Valley that provides exceptional service. And again, another one of those preferred partners that you would partner up with if you're unable to meet the needs for someone. So it's nice to have multiple opportunities or multiple agencies that do it for the right reasons.
Well, I know during the height of COVID that there were times when we had multiple home care companies in with a client in order to fill shifts, because there was so much that was needed. And I was always so appreciative and respected so much the professionalism that everybody in this market that we refer to shared, and how willing you all were willing to work with each other to provide clients the care that they needed. And there was no turf wars. It was let's take care of the client and get their needs met. So
Shannon, I have a question that I think some of our viewers may have. If they have a home health or a home care agency, not home health, a home care agency, and something isn't going well, what do you recommend they do to improve their situation if they're not happy or they just feel like something isn't quite right? What should they do?
Absolutely. So they need to call, communicate. And I always let them know, they may have an amazing personality, but maybe the cares are off. That's the thing where we can come in and train, provide guidance, teach, or maybe or maybe it's just the opposite. But call. This is a service that's being provided to you, for you, to take the stresses off of you. Let us take care of that for you. We want to make sure. I always say that if it's something that you're questioning in the back of your mind, you need to bring it forward. We can't fix what we don't know. And I know so often we're like, well, maybe I'll give it another try. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. And you just start feeling stuck. From the initial get-go, let us take care of it. Let us handle that for you. Again, our mission is to allow you to be the family member, the loved one, and why we're in the home, the caregiver.
So not that I've been preparing for this presentation and questions to ask you, but when someone comes on board new and they need 24/7, the loved one needs 24/7 care, how many people does that usually take to staff a team, and how long does it usually take to get a fairly stable team in place?
It varies. As no day is ever the same, where one day you may have an abundance of staff, and then the next day you may have none. So that part kind of varies a little bit. And we
Generally.
always, yeah, We typically try to be really quick. I want to say for 24/7, we typically have it staffed within 24 hours. If it's an urgent need, that's when our team steps in. I step in again. I have my scrubs in my car. I may do that first shift. And we always are upfront with the family members or the referral source and let them know, look, the first 24 hours and maybe a little hodgepodge, but we'll get it done and we'll make sure they're cared for. Myself, our staffing manager, our recruiter, our client care manager, our titles are for payroll purposes. We're all caregivers first and foremost. So we jump in if it's an urgent situation. But to have it really stable and ready to rock and roll, we're within 24 hours. Typically, it's 5 caregivers. We run 4 on 12-hour shifts, and then we have a backup. So the way that works is that backup individual is familiar with the cares. They've been part of that start of care. They've been part of that introduction. So they're aware of the assessment. They're aware of the dynamics for this client. So it's really how we have been able to tailor it and been successful at being able to start quickly with our 24/7s.
And then, and so Jackie and Kevin, feel free to chime in here if you have a different experience. But the other part of that is knowing when you first start care, you're probably not going to get 5 people that are good matches that can be available ongoing. About how long does it usually take before you can get that cadre up and running and it to be a good, stable team? Any of you?
I'm muted with my dog barking in the background, so I apologize. If you hear her, I'll mute again. But you know, really, there's an instability right now with caregivers in the Valley. We all are aware of that, and it can vary. Again, sometimes it takes 24 hours, sometimes it takes 48, sometimes it takes 72. Sometimes you may just not get it. Where you're constantly feeling like you have a change of bodies, you have a change of caregivers, that what you thought would be a great fit is not a great fit. But the difference is with that phone call, we make that change to keep trying to find that fit. We just ask for our family members and our client to be understanding. And I feel that this is where your communication has to be clear and you have to own it. When there's a mistake, we own it and we fix it, and we try not to make that same mistake twice. But we rely so heavily on our caregivers and our team to do the right thing. And unfortunately, unfortunate situations happen. As much as I would love to say it's always perfect, it's not. It's not, because again, we rely on, as long as I know at the end of day that we are training, teaching, guiding, loving, serving, then we feel good. So I don't know if that truly answers the question, because there's no really right question on or right answer, because the caregiver shortage, the caregiver demand, it's feast or famine some days.
Right.
Shannon, I'm really glad you came back and said sometimes it's 24, 48, 72. Because in today's world, unfortunately, the shortage has made it extremely difficult to be able to provide the services for these people that really need it. You know, every agency does their best to try to provide that care, but in reality, Dee, like you said, you've worked with multiple agencies that have just gone in and taken different shifts to make sure that that care is there, but it's a quandary right now.
It has been a most difficult and challenging time from a caregiving standpoint for so many standpoints, but certainly caregiving as well.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, you also just naturally, there isn't a right answer, right? Because depending on the needs and the complexity of the situation, the challenges that the family situation might present, the more particular a family might be. I mean, you know, you end up with what could feel like a constant change, but the more you need, the more likely there is for more rotation, I would think. So I think my recommendation for a family would be, the more particular you are and the more comprehensive and amount of time you need, the more likely it is that there will be more rotation and more change, right? And so I think part of it is setting expectations too, and letting family members know, not just because of the shortage, because that definitely is a factor, but definitely based on what the family requires and the complexity of the situation, it changes things. And I think it's probably better to guide somebody to expect change than expect stability at this day and age, for sure.
Well, especially some of our more seasoned female clients who only want seasoned female caregivers. And
That they're vaccinated.
There's some
that are
girl
vaccinated
caregivers out there.
and
Yeah.
they're vegetarians too, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, the more specific your requirement, the more likely you are to have
Changes.
rotation. Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and difficulty getting your job staffed. So
Yes.
most definitely.
But like you had said, it's all about being just honest and upfront. That communication is key on all aspects of it. And when the expectations are beyond your needs, I have no qualms of saying that's beyond what we can do. I would be more than happy to hand it over to someone else. And I think, a lot of times I get, I appreciate you being open and honest. And I think that's where we have to define that for our family members. We can't always sugarcoat it. We have to be honest from the forefront. Staffing is a difficult time. It's not the same where we had an abundance of caregivers. And it can set you apart for sure, but it's doing the right thing for all the right reasons.
Right. Yes. And I think, again, stressing that piece of the family being very honest and upfront with not only the needs, but sometimes the idiosyncrasies of the person that they're going to be providing care for, because it's a lot easier to staff for those knowns than it is to have to adjust along the way. And we all have our idiosyncrasies, maybe except for Dara.
Oh no, I'm a lot. I know I'm a lot. It's all good.
I'm right there with you.
we know I have mine. So, the number of times care companies have said, when we're bringing them in, we really appreciate knowing that, they have a fear of being in the dark, or they were a vet and they have some PTSD, might not be obvious. Whatever the piece is that to make this relationship work successfully from the get-go is to be open, honest, and disclose information about the little idiosyncrasies, right, Kevin? I can see you shaking your head. Yeah, makes a huge difference.
No, it's the honest truth. I mean, everything is, it's not as easy as just, going to the store and picking up something simple. It does take a full team, to make everything go in the right direction. It's not even just, it takes a full team to make everything work out the way it's supposed to, because again, there's so many variables, so many different situations all the way through that, it's never going to be perfect, because that doesn't exist.
Right.
So it's making the best out of what you have, and then in return, the perfect part would be the end result, that the family is happy when the services do end, and everybody feels like they made a difference in the community that we strive to make better on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And that's what I find about all of us that work in this business, is that it is one of our core values, a desire to make a difference in the lives of those people that we touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what, I actually have another question that that some family members may wonder about. Sorry, this one's kind of an odd one, but I'm sure you've all faced it. Sometimes people who need care have dementia and other situations that result in behaviors. So how should a family member expect to both disclose those behaviors, as well as how do you manage them with a family, and what kind of conversation and potentially do people sometimes have to look for new home care? Sorry, tough questions, but
No
we have
names,
people
but
who
everybody here does this all the
I
time.
know, but this is what inquiring minds really want to know. So we ask
don't
the
have any of
questions.
those. No, I'm just kidding. So for us, and then I would love to hear Kevin or Jackie on this too, because for us, that is important information. It's important to know, because what are the triggers? We don't want to set our caregiver up for failure. So knowing if there are behaviors, dementia, any of those things really need to be part of that initial assessment. We need that background history, because we need to be able to set our caregivers for success. Like if they start packing, what does that mean? So are we going to pack with them, or what are we doing? So it's putting that, and back to my senior living days, we would put a behavioral plan together. So it's finding out what triggers, what works to detour or to change the environment. Those are all pieces. And then we have staff, we have behavior logs, so that are kept a little bit separate, because the last thing you need is this client to see this behavioral log. So that way, that's just going to stir the pot even more. So when they're done with their shift, they go and they log this behavior, if there's behaviors, or they call the client care manager so they can log the behaviors. They need to let us know what's transpiring, because it could be even a bigger picture to this. What if there's an elopement, that they leave the house when the caregiver's not there, and we didn't identify that we were having these behaviors? So these are all valid points that we need to know and we need to discuss, because in reality, we're there to provide safety and to provide family members with comfort. So knowing if there are behaviors or dementia and the triggers, putting a plan in place is what we need to do so we can be successful. And most importantly, keep this client safe and relieve the family of that stress.
So I went down this journey myself with both my parents, and one of the things I learned very quickly that I had to alert the caregiving team to was never offer to shake my father's hand, because he will reach out and shake your hand and then he will pull you into his lap. So I had to advise everybody, fist bump, Dean, don't shake his hand unless you want to end up in his lap. So it's the nuances, all the things that we as family members know about our loved one. And we need to make sure that the care team knows those things too, because I didn't need a sexual harassment claim. Not that stopped him, because there was other behaviors that he had, but it was like that, he had dementia, and so his editor was broken and he would do inappropriate things. So you make sure that the care team knows that. And so they know how to maneuver around him, how to redirect him. And so I don't think we can overstress the importance of being very honest and upfront with the folks at the care company, so that they know what to anticipate and how to either prevent it or just mitigate it altogether. So honesty, being upfront, good partner is key. What other thoughts?
Agree.
Other questions? Dara, you can have more if you want.
Oh no, I won't work everybody too hard this afternoon.
No, these are good questions and valid points. And I love having Trinity on here too, because it really, these are experts in the field. So it's nice having various, options and various ideas and various perspectives. So I appreciate being here and having these two here, and it's a good combination.
Well, and we really do try to ask the questions that people are afraid to ask, or wish they could ask, or would have remembered to ask. Those are the things that we think there's real value in people getting access to that information. So with that, I would say, if there were, all of you, Jackie, Kevin, Shannon, if there was either one thing you'd really like to tell every family, or a piece of advice for them, or what would you wish they knew or wish you could tell them?
I honestly, I think so often we feel so obligated as the family member to care for our loved ones. that we forget that we're the daughter, or we forget that that's our mom. So often we wait until we either so far guilt-ridden or exhausted that we put ourselves last, that it's not selfish to ask for help or for care. Because, you know, that first part of the word selfish is self. So we need to look at self-care, self-love, and seeking out individuals that are the experts in the field to provide that for you. There's no guilt, there's no shame to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. I mean, like you say, Dee, you've been there before, you've seen it. It's the part of I have to be strong. I have to do what I have to do as the family member, and allowing somebody else to come in is not a bad thing, to be able to put yourself back in the shoes of being the son, the daughter, the grandchild, or whatever that may be. And again, that's very difficult to be able to do, and then to be able to offer, you know, like Shannon said, of the resources that are out there. You know, people don't realize even you know, I'll just hit on the small part of the after death part. You know, there's so many more resources that are available still. You know, once a family member passes, that doesn't mean that the journey is over with by any means. So allowing and being that, yes, we are a resource, but we are a friend, you know, and again, we still live in a community that's small enough that we can be those people and we can be trusted. So again, going back to where Shannon said, just being honest, being able to give out only what you can give out, you know. I mean, don't put yourself out there of something that you cannot provide. And those are things I think that keep us all helping out as much as we would like to. But there's so many different things, and it does become very difficult. And being able to just say, I need help, that's a hard part from a family member standpoint, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I need to jump for another meeting, but I'll let you all continue the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
So I had one other question that I wanted to check with both of you on. Do you have access for family members or care managers to log into your portals, to your care systems? You both do? Okay.
We do. I honestly, I think I have one family member out of all those that we serve that want that. And so for them, it's more of picking up the phone and having that one-on-one connection. And, you know, so often, because we're consumed by electronics and all of that. I don't know, Kevin, if you guys see that too, but I think family members like that reassurance of a voice to voice. So just making sure that we're available and we're setting up those calls, that we're making those calls before they do. And I think that's huge in this time frame when it comes to caring for others, because it's so inundated with charting and so inundated with electronic that it takes away that personable touch. And what we do is personable. And providing that care, providing the love and that companionship, it's huge. So making sure that we're available. For me, I'm a voice to voice. I love being able to talk, hear the histories, hear the stories. That's the stuff you don't find in books. And that's what drives my passion to serve.
Right. Well, I know coming from a care management standpoint, and Brooke might jump on here as well, but sometimes it's really helpful for us as care managers to be able to either log on to your portal and report something or get information, or to give you access to log on to our portal, which, just so you know, CareTree does have a home care as well as a care manager component to the business, so that we can all be working within the same system. So yeah. Okay.
At other times that it comes in really handy is when you have families that have children outside of the state, and there's multiple children, then all of them want to know about it. So it's great to be able to talk with them, but when there's 5 or 6, it's kind of all consuming. So everybody can see exactly what's being done for mom or dad, and everybody's on the same page too.
Right, right. And we all try and focus it to one primary key contact, and they communicate out, and that works in theory wonderfully, but not completely.
Not always.
Families are families, and we know most of us have some dysfunction. So,
Oh, mine's perfect.
oh, that's true, Jackie. I forgot.
The dynamics just keep us on our toes. And it just makes sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, which, and I know we all do our best, but we're human and we're going to make mistakes. And it comes down to the ownership and fixing it and supporting our families to the best of our abilities. But I think you said it, when there is those dynamics, we need to know who's the forefront and how can we protect them to the best of our ability and put those things in place so we can reduce the dynamics, because it can get muddy the waters pretty quickly.
Right.
Especially when you have caregivers that are going into the home, and if there's dynamics and we're not aware, that can be it can be disastrous pretty quickly.
Right. Well, I can think of a situation right now where a very manipulative client accuses her daughter of exploiting her, and without that information, that's one of the things that she does up front, the caregivers freak out.
Yes.
Because they think it's true. So yeah, we have to handle those things.
Yes.
Well, wonderful. Any other kind of summary thoughts that have popped into your mind that you want to make sure our audience knows about or hears about from you?
Again, it just really comes down to, don't hesitate to call. If it's something that is on the forefront of your mind and you're feeling tired, let us come in, let us help you. We'll do the assessment. There's no charge. And it's really just building a relationship and getting to know one another and making sure that we can all be support. Again, from Trinity to the Key, to, whatever it is that you're needing, from physical therapy to home health, occupational therapy, skilled nursing. We're here as a resource, first and foremost, to provide that support for our community. And just, we love what we do. We have a passion to serve, and that's what we get to do from a day-to-day basis.
And I appreciate each and every one of you so much. You are such wonderful partners, and it makes it, we all need a team to do the work that we do. We all have a passion for it, and sometimes it's really hard. So thank you for being the wonderful partners that you both are, that you all are. And I can't thank you enough, Shannon, for doing today's presentation, and Jackie and Kevin for participating as well. And again, a thank you to our sponsors, Oasis Senior Advisors and A Mind for All Seasons, for helping to make this happen. We are an organization of volunteers, and so sponsorships help keep us going and producing this great content that we have. Coming up, I have to make sure my mouse is on the right screen when I page down. So everybody who has attended, you will get an email inviting you to join our mailing list in the event that you're not already on it. If you'd like to be on our mailing list and are not, please confirm your subscription. We don't just send stuff out unless you say you'd like to be on it. And check your junk folder just in case for your invitation. Coming up yet this quarter, we have next week, we have Transforming Your Life After 60 with Lorraine Quick. We've got Elder Abuse Awareness and Prevention, and then Navigating Your Path to Retirement in June. And then I have to get busy and get the rest of my classes scheduled. We have them all picked out. I just have to get dates and commitments from our trainers. So here's what's coming up. The next time you see this slide, that'll all be filled out with other classes. We are going to commit to doing 6 a quarter or 2 a month to kind of help with, we've been a little over rambunctious. I really like doing these, and I like to get everybody in here to do presentations, but I think it makes it more reasonable for us to be able to do 2 a month. And so that's going to be our path forward. So look forward to the schedule coming up. And once again, I just thank you all for being here and presenting today. And I appreciate you all for all of the work that you do and being the key partners.